In 2011, we had a horrible wildfire season. I knew a drone would give me critical information that I needed to make faster decisions to keep the public safe. We worked a water rescue where we located a vehicle literally in a tree that the boats couldn't even see, but the drone could. I get a phone call, hey, come up to this meeting. I could designate search areas, see where the camera saw. I knew DroneSense from the very beginning was there. I fell into a command trap, concerned about the fire. I could see from the point of origin, the fire had U-shaped around. I had a whole opposite head running parallel. We would have lost 3 houses, possibly even a life. The question used to be, why do we need a drone? The question now is, why don't you have a drone?
Welcome to DroneCast. Today we're honored to have Wayne Baker, or Chief Wayne Baker, a pioneering figure in the integration of drones in public safety. Wayne's extensive career spans over 26 years in fire service, where he served as the fire chief and emergency management coordinator for the city of Joshua, Texas. His visionary leadership led to the creation of North Central Texas Public Safety UAS Response Team, where he worked alongside DJI to test and evaluate drone technology that has since become crucial in emergency response and disaster recovery. In 2019, Wayne took on a new role as the Director of Stakeholder Engagement at DJI, continuing his mission to support first responders with advanced drone solutions. Today, he leads initiatives that helped public safety agencies incorporate drones for operations like search and rescue, infrastructure monitoring, crisis management. We're excited to dive into Wayne's journey and discuss the evolution of drones in public safety and explore the crucial role that DJI continues to play in shaping the future of emergency response. Welcome to DroneCast, Wayne. It's so good to have you.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. I was glad I was able to make it work. I was on the road to Canada earlier this week, so looked forward to it the whole time.
Nice. I heard you had to run into one of our representatives, Stuart Lawless, up there. I hope you're able to understand him.
I have enough British in me that I was, although I think his view on football is different than ours. So
he still blows up the Slack channels with that. But great. Well, Wayne, your transition from fire chief and emergency management coordinator to the director of public safety integration and now the stakeholder engagement at DJI is inspiring. How did your extensive background in firefighting and emergency management influence your approach to integrating drones into public safety? And then what made you believe drones could make such a significant difference in saving lives?
It was a long time coming in my career. For a major part of my career, I focused on firefighter safety. And the best way to make firefighters safe is knowledge and prevention. Getting that as I worked up in my career to where I was becoming incident commander, and especially as a fire chief, getting more information about a fire was crucial. And in 2011, we had a horrible wildfire season across Texas, and I was deployed around the state on an incident management team, and I was really seeing these just massive wildfires we really hadn't experienced in Texas. One of the areas was Possum Kingdom Lake, and all the homes burning there. And so then I came back to my area and had, large wildland fires I'd never experienced before. And I knew a drone would give me critical information that I needed to make faster decisions, better decisions, and all of that to not only keep the public safe, but the firefighters safe as well. And unfortunately, at the time, drones weren't really a thing. Then as they kind of came along, they weren't quite matured enough or at a price point until DJI really around 2014 had the Phantom series, Phantom 2 at the time, that was at a price point, capabilities. And so another fortunate thing I had was a civilian pilot named Garrett Brill that came in my office one day with a drone, and we started from there. And I knew that the aerial view was going to be important what I didn't realize is where it was going to grow to. We worked a water rescue in the Mansfield, Texas area one Sunday morning, where now we had the Inspire One that we could carry and drop things with. And we were able to use it on 2 water rescues that morning. One where we located a vehicle literally in a tree that the boats couldn't even see, but the drone could. And the drone guided the boats into
Does anybody see that
tree.
car? Oh, wait.
Exactly. And
Goodness.
they had to come back, look at the video to go, oh, that's where it is, then take and go back in. And luckily those people had self-exited. But that was the next part. The drone found them. We were literally now doing searches along the river, and the drone found them on one of the sides at that point. And keep saying river. There's no water there right now. This was a very rare event that this became not a creek, a river. And so we found them. We immediately left that and went to another water rescue where, again, same thing. Now there is a river going under a house. And to use the boat, we needed to get a rope across and to make the operation safer. And we flew that rope, the tagline for the rope across with a drone. And we didn't know there at the time, there was a news crew filming us live the whole time. And that's where DJI found out, and we started working with Romeo Dersher, Randall Warness, and others. As you mentioned, from there it grew to getting thermal imaging cameras on drones to enterprise products. A big group of us, as Garrett and I started training departments in the area, they started helping departments in the area. It grew to where we had this huge North Texas UAS public safety team. And then, of course, Coit Kessler at the same
Who's that
time.
guy?
Yeah, I don't know anymore. Him and another guy, Brandon Carr, that are just, I don't have the headspace they do. So I'm a nobody now compared to them.
You're mentioning the slick headspace is what you're saying,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. Got it.
I at least look better in a hat than Brandon. So in a cowboy hat, better than Brandon there. So
I love it.
But Brandon, a few years later, actually about the time I went to DJI, I got fortunate to retire and go to DJI to continue that life mission of saving lives. And as one person put it, I can make, instead of just an impact here, I was able to hopefully be able to make an impact nationally and globally to continue this life-saving mission I've had. So that long-winded story, I know.
It's great though. Are you kidding? And I mean, really, did you say 2011?
That's when I first started thinking about, I need that.
That's crazy. Because that's you're literally like one of the early days. Like you're a true influencer, right? Like this is wild. And also the Inspire One, what a bird that was. I love that platform, and it, it was for professional photography and so on. But man, we all figured out how to do a lot more enterprise, all different use cases for that.
It was something that when we talked to DJI, they never imagined what we and others were starting to do with these essentially off-the-shelf drones. And then along comes DroneSense, which you were
one of the early users from the very early days.
Yeah,
it's remarkable. Yeah. Could you share some experiences that DroneSense and how its capabilities enhanced your department's operations during that time?
Absolutely. I'll tell you right now, I was sitting there. I get a phone call. I didn't really know what DroneSense was. I hadn't been on some of the earlier discussions. Our county emergency manager, Jamie Moore, had been talking to everybody at the DroneSense team. And I get a call one day, hey, come up to this meeting at the county EOC. And so I get in there, we sit down, and they start making a presentation about, what the and you got to remember, it was the infancy of the software. And I knew right then and there when it was really just about, pilot logging. I can keep track of pilot logging. I could I could designate search areas, some of the command and control features, um, and then I could see where the camera saw. I sat there, and at the end of it, I literally told them, "You guys have one of the most amazing products that's going to work with drones." And I was excited to be there and excited to see what was happening, and then of course now what DroneSense has become. I'm not a smart guy, but I definitely can see when this horse is going to be a winner, and I knew DroneSense from the very beginning was there.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I mean, I found out by DroneSense not by, researching this or trying to find something. It was all the champion customers that I kept running into when I was out in the field doing demos. But does it work with DroneSense? But does this work with like DroneSense? Like that's our thing. That's how we do it. Like, and I was like, what is this? And sure, long and behold, here I am. It's crazy. Now, DJI has been a long partner for public safety agencies around the world, including your own department, as you mentioned. How did DJI adapt its technologies to address particular challenges for first responders?
One of the great things is DJI over the years has invested heavily in R&D. While leading U.S. drone manufacturers maybe have invested in other areas of their business, DJI has invested in R&D and bringing production costs down. And so what we've seen is a huge team of solution engineers. We have Grant Hostica and his team here in the U.S. that really care about the customer and really want to hear, what do you need? And then taking that back to R&D, who is responsive to that sits back and listens to the customer's needs. I'm constantly amazed that even when they'll hear, oh, they need this, but what if we do this with it and take that further? And our ideas that started in Texas now are globally helping save lives.
I totally can relate with this. When I was just getting into the drone, like the drone industry in the field, I was doing oil and gas up in North Dakota, and had one of the very first M210 RTKs, and we were kind of one of the premier like demo groups of it and such. And just thinking about those times, and now looking at the M400 that just came out, it's just like, whoa, like, wow. And like DJI really does take the time to listen and put that kind of effort forward. And it shows. It really shows. And it shows by lives being saved.
And I actually just saw this morning on Facebook a group of guys talking about how they use their M210 still. It hasn't been that many years, but it's been, about, I don't know, 8 years or so at least ish. But it's still in my mind now. It's like, hey, the 1800s want their drone back. It's this short period of time and where the industry has gone, the ecosystem has grown. It's so fantastic, and we're not done yet. There's so much more that I know will come.
Yeah, it's almost unfathomable. The sky's the limit for all this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Love it. Now, Wayne, from your perspective, how have drones evolved in terms of capabilities and their applications in public safety?
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to what we talked about in my beginnings, I just wanted an aerial view. That's all I envisioned at the time, and that was great. Yeah, it was, and it's still, even if an agency can only afford a drone with, just a simple camera, they can still have a great effective program. Take on a wildland fire, you get that immediate, where's the fire, what's ahead of it, where is it going, escape routes and safety zones for firefighters, missing person searches. I can clear the wider areas faster so that the ground teams can focus on the more tougher areas. But obviously when thermal imaging cameras came along, that was phenomenal. But then to see the progression with them to where now we have 1080 on our H30T resolution is incredible. the ability to carry and deliver has been phenomenal. Our Matrice 4 series is now on a small platform. We have kind of the Matrice 30 has been a standard for a lot of agencies. It's the best all around for public safety. But for those agencies that don't quite have that budget or have a need for a smaller platform, say you have a rescuer that's going to get on a snowmobile in Utah, or someone on a four-wheeler here in Texas and get out into the brush country, they can't carry an M30 on their back, but they can carry a smaller M4T. But now they have to an extent, the abilities with the zoom camera. Although M30 has a better zoom, but thermal imaging camera, now the laser rangefinder, so we can get pinpoints out at distance, near IR, the ability for the augmented information through the M4T of, animal, human, vehicle, boat, and then one thing I will say on the M4T is a lot of people talk about the foldable version, that variant, and it doesn't have IP rating, but the dock version can be bought without a dock. So we do sell that standalone, and now you have the IP rating. Granted, you lose the foldable, so a little of the portability, but you have that smaller platform capabilities.
I've been talking to agencies that keep that in a backpack and just like whip that out and launch it and so on. I mean, it's just it's just like what you did, where you were finding ways to use early drone. Not this is an early drone, but using this technology to better public safety and kind of your operations, finding which one's the best fit for you and just going with it. Like it's still fun in that realm.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. How have these technological advancements made a difference in emergency response operations?
Absolutely. They have improved firefighter safety, police officer safety, with getting that overhead view, or allowing officers to stand off a little bit, which has had an added benefit for bad actors to de-escalate situations. Police officers can faster find that missing child. Firefighters with a thermal can find, hotspots on a house fire, let's say, or securing a wildland fire even. On a house fire, I could see the structural integrity of a roof with the thermal by seeing the variance in temperatures of the roof components. All of this is, I go back to what I said earlier, the information and getting that information faster so that I can make a decision faster. We have reduced that gathering information to and acting on that information. We've reduced that time so much with drones. And, again, it's not just that I talk about it's making firefighters, police officers safer. It's thereby making the public safer, because that's the end goal. That's, we exist as organizations for the people that dial 911. And that's what's so important, is that we need to focus on that mission and look for technologies such as drones that can help us accomplish that mission. But also, even though there is a sometimes significant cost to drones, they are still reducing a lot of costs, or making agencies more efficient, such as Drone as a First Responder. That DroneSense has their great DFR solution, where now we have a force multiplier that we can sometimes get units back in service faster by getting a drone there ahead of time. And an incident, we may have 3 units, say, coming, whether they be police or fire, and the drone starts to see, hey, this situation isn't as severe as the caller thought it was. And now we can clear those units up for other emergencies. So we're bringing even more efficiency to operations. So it's just, again, so phenomenal to see what is being accomplished.
Quick break to highlight whether you're flying, sharing, or managing your drone program, DroneSense has everything you need. It's hardware agnostic, so it works with a variety of drones, sensors, and other hardware, giving you ultimate flexibility. And with the ability to collaborate across agencies securely, DroneSense helps you scale from one drone to 100 plus, supporting you in everything from routine calls to disaster response. To learn more and get started, check out the link in the description. That's amazing. Now, could you share any particular examples where these improvements directly contributed to the success of an operation or saved lives? Is there a particular instance?
The one that stands out the most in my mind, there's I'll tell two, they're related, they're law enforcement. It goes to the de-escalation. One, I have to give credit to Chula Vista Police, who is one of was the first drone as first responder organization out there. They started the time I wanted to do it. I didn't have the resources that they did, but they had an incident where somebody calls in and says, there's a guy playing with a gun here at this taco stand. They got the drone there. And again, their tactics have changed where the officers
That's
now...
not a gun. That's a El Pastor taco. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, it was very similar. It was just a lighter. He was playing with a click lighter. And the drone saw that. And so now instead of officers approaching weapons drawn, they just now it was we'll just make contact, talk to them, and remember, clear up all these other units. So that was a big one. But the one where I can say that this technology definitively saved a life by stopping a chain of events, de-escalating a situation, came from Dallas Police Department, where about a year and a half ago, it was like right after New Year's, they were trying to apprehend a murder suspect. And he had actually gotten into an Uber, and it was a minivan, gotten into an Uber trying to get away. And the marked units pulled up. Uber driver said, I want no part of this, jumps out of the vehicle and gets away, but leaves the driver's door open. And now, a lot of agencies and Dallas really push limits on not sending tactical teams in. They send drones in now. They did the same now on this operation. And so now we have a felony stop. They're talking on the PA. The suspect's not complying. He's not exiting the vehicle. So they hold off, and instead of sending officers up, putting them in danger, they fly the drone up. And so they fly Nevada up, and as they get to the passenger window, it looks like he has a gun in his lap and he's on the phone. And the officers I talked to on that even said this was about to be an officer-involved shooting. He wasn't complying. He appeared to be armed. They bring the drone around, come in, fortunately, through that driver's door. And as soon as they get in the vehicle and look back, they see that it's a cell phone in his lap. And he's on another cell phone, and he's actually talking to his mom saying, I can't get out. The child safety lock on the door was preventing him from opening the door and getting out. He was trying to comply. He couldn't. Had they not waited and sent the drone, we would have unfortunately had a black male unarmed that possibly could have lost his life. But those officers took that time that now it de-escalated and saved that individual's life. So just, a powerful use by Dallas. That's
really powerful. Yes. Love this.
So, man. And that's just one of thousands now that we hear about.
Right? It's just the very tip of the iceberg right now. And we're still we're utilizing technology, and this is promoting DJI. We're using technology that was designed for a consumer market, because it's individuals like yourself and like those in law enforcement and public safety in general, using these as tools now. And in Nevada's a fun FPV drone, but we have been finding all these different use cases for it. It's a great time to be a part of this. And, I know DJI is listening to this, so can't wait for that tactical DJI drone to come out.
I've been pushing and pushing
I know.
since
We all have.
before I started. But one of the things,
I still have the first YouTube video of picking up the Avata 1 and going, this is not a consumer drone. This is a drone for public safety and for commercial use. Look at this. And I'm like flying down pipes and tubes and doing all sorts of stuff. And I was like,
oh yeah,
what? And, I mean, I don't know,
even something
awesome.
like our Neo. I just had an officer in Canada talk about how he can keep his Neo down in a pocket on his tack vest, and if he needs something, he just flies with his phone and gets what he needs to see, and that's just a $200 or so drone. Base price. It's again not what we intended at DJI by any means, but what people adapt it to their needs.
I was joking about this, but I was like, I didn't know DJI sells tripods. And I say that because I was literally looking to buy another tripod, but instead I bought a DJI Flip because it's a flying tripod that keeps with you. It's just anyway. Yeah, always been a DJI fanboy since I started. I mean, my first drone was a DJI Spark that I bought off Craigslist of all things to solve to answer a problem that I had in climbing up roofs to take a photo with a dated cell phone for an insurance claim. I used a Spark instead. Anyway, we'll go down that rabbit hole. But when you first began integrating drones into emergency services, what were some of the first challenges you faced, and how did you overcome obstacles related to technology adoption or training?
You just hit on one of the challenges was training. For us at the time, there was this was undiscovered country. Star Trek pun there. Here, nobody had any real programs out there. Arlington Police Department did, but I didn't know who to talk to there, even though we're right there by them. And so we had no policies, no training curriculum standards, and we also didn't know what we didn't know as far as public acceptance and things like that, because this was we had a term back then called NOMBY, not over my backyard. So we would talk about
sounds very Texan.
Yes. And so I did at least, I'm not a smart person, but I do sometimes accidentally do things right. And one of the things I said is, we're going to have this at every event, every public event we do. I want the drone there. I want people to see the drone, hear the drone, see the view from the drone, to understand we're not hiding anything. Here's why we're going to use it. And I had actually, before I was able to look at purchasing, and before even Garrett Brill walked in our office, we had already gone before the city council with a policy. I had first time as a fire chief, I had to write one from scratch, right? Couldn't take someone else's policy, change names to protect the guilty, and then use their policy. I had to write one from scratch, including how it would be utilized. And we went to the council. This is before we even were going to request money for one. And we were able to get their buy-in right away. They understood that it was going to be a good tool, trusted me enough about it, and the police chief as well. It was we going in together helped. Then getting that public acceptance to where we went from, there is a, for the little city of Joshua, there is, of course, several Facebook group pages of, what was that, Bang, to, hey, this is a great restaurant, to a few months later, oh my gosh, it's so horrible, right? So there's those those Facebook pages.
Oh man, I just go through next door and just listen to that stuff in my neighborhood and just like, what?
Yeah. I heard a fire truck,
big bright light. Yeah, there was what was that? And you just, is there any other conversation in here than that? But no, it's funny.
So what we were fortunate to do is, through that engagement, it went from literally where that Facebook group would go, why is there a drone flying over to the city, to us answering and explaining, to, if anybody asked that question, then it became, oh, that's just the fire department, to later on, nobody even cared. So it was great to see that acceptance and how it spread. So being that open with your community was one thing. training, as I mentioned, training and training standards. Our biggest problem at the time was, what did the FAA want? So when Part 107 finally came out, we were okay. Now we have something that we know we have to train for, but that was not skills. So we developed skills, and then NIST came about, and so we were able to integrate NIST into that, and we've had a lot of different standards and training standards that come out here. I'm still bothered that we don't have one national standard for drones. And I mean, manipulative skills as well as knowledge base, but unfortunately, we don't have that. But at least there is enough knowledge out there that is similar enough that we do have a pretty common goal. But those were some of the biggest challenges that and I think it's still there. But I think at least there's been enough tribal knowledge from the past few years to really help the industry now.
Nice. Now, when we're talking about integrating drones and emergency services, on the flip side of that question, though, what would you consider one of the biggest successes in implementing drone programs in fire or the police departments?
Oh my goodness, again, there's been so many great successes, but I think I would go to now the DFR. Getting the drone and putting it operationally on the street was, I think we're back to where we were there, and a lot of those successes were great, but we've proved the concept. We've shown over the years drones save lives, but to watch how fast now, because of that groundwork, the DFR, now that the technology and whether that be the hardware components such as Flox docks, our docks, to the software components, including DroneSense's DFR solution, it was all there in place at the time that public safety looked and said, we need to do DFR. And so when the time was right, luckily everything was so in place that I have a PowerPoint I do when I introduce myself as an instructor. And I have
just
two
you
pictures.
with the Bucky hat on?
Yes. This is, I'm actually more in the Bucky onesie.
Got it. Nice.
Wearing the Bucky onesie, eating my beaver nuggets, right? So
oh man. Yep.
And definitely got to have the jerky with me too, right? So I'm
that jalapeno jerky. I'm so sorry we're off topic. Goodness gracious. I finally had a moment to go to Bucky's in Texas, traveling with guys from DroneSense and Cole Fox and man, I'm just blown away. I love it. We'll talk about that in a moment, but yes, I can't wait to hear. But continue. My bad.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But so see, now you got me ADD'd on Bucky's.
Oh no, I get it.
And, now I can't remember what I was answering.
Let's go ahead and dive in. When is the Bucky DJI collaboration drone going to come out, and when will we see that?
Not fast enough. When I can get...
Not fast enough?
Because I just built one down the road from my house. So, when I can get a brisket sandwich flown up to my house, I don't care if it's
that's
going to
be a whole other thing. The M400 Bucky edition, dropping beaver nuggets and brisket sandwiches.
That's actually a good idea. You can get skins made for like your different drones. I could get the M400 Bucky's edition.
That would be something.
I'll share the profits with you on that when I
like in the very front. There's like two like beaver teeth that like hang down from the kind of the eyes or something like that.
Yeah. So if any of the guys at Bucky's are watching this from corporate,
you're listening now, watching in,
let's get together and make the M400 Bucky's edition.
Oh man, I'm so in for this. This is gonna be great. We're joking, and it's literally gonna be a thing. Oh man! All right, sorry. Back to that. Yeah. So how, like, we're talking about how How did drones enhance operational efficiency or safety in those departments?
Yeah, absolutely. So now, not only do we have that protective overwatch of individuals, whether it be on the fire ground or it be the officer on the street. Now, even with that, going back to talking about the DFR, now getting there ahead of time, if I'm an engine lieutenant and I'm responding to a fire, I'm already in my head. I have a game plan of, okay, we're going to arrive. We're going to get the hand line pulled. I'm going to get my 360 around the house. Do I need to soften the building up? Do I need to, all these different things in my head, just as the engine lieutenant, then you have your truck captain. They're starting to run through, vent crew, search crew, and the battalion chief. This is one of the biggest probably benefits on the fire ground is the battalion chief now is thinking, do I have enough units for what I'm going to arrive to have? Is it going to be a second alarm? And where are those units coming from? How long is it going to take? For me, where I was at, if I called for a second alarm, that could be anywhere from about 20 minutes to get those units on scene to an hour. So it goes back to that decision time being shrunk down. Officers on the street. Do I have an active shooter or do I have a burglary suspect that is now on foot? I need to get a perimeter set. And a drone can help set that perimeter immediately. And it just, active shooter, where is the shooter? How do I locate him, confine, and direct those first officers into them to stop the threat? So many different things that we're seeing drones. Drones as a first responder. And what I started to say a minute ago is in 2018, I was on a panel with Romeo Dersher, and I was with Menlo Park Chief Shuppleholm sitting there talking about, wouldn't it be great if one day we had a drone could take off from a fire station, fly down, start feeding that imagery back. I didn't realize, but to the day, 5 years later, I was on a panel in Vegas, and I had Fritz Reber, we had FX, we had, Brink, ACSL. We were all manufacturer panel, and we were talking about, I remember how we were talking about DFR happening and how it was starting to happen. And that was, I think, 2 years ago. And now we're at the point where we're talking about agencies that have 10, 20. I mean, Brandon Carr thinks he's got a really great program, which he does down there in Pearland, him and Oubre.
Mm-hmm.
But there are agencies out
there
there
the same
that
person?
One is Wish version. I think Oubre
Right.
is the Wish version of Brandon, right? Still, neither
exactly
one looked as good in the cowboy hat as me, right? They are definitely
That's
all
the
hat,
truth.
no cattle.
That's the truth. Love it.
But
Man.
now we're seeing agencies that have taken their concept and just exploded with it. And it's just, again, to see how, when you look at aviation in history, it goes all the way back to the Persian Greek mythologies where, we had Persia, where there is myths about, people trying to fly, and it goes all the way up to the Wright brothers at the turn of the 1900s, and achieving flight. But it was only 40 years from there, 40 to 50 years from there, that we had space travel and we had true astronauts orbiting the Earth. That leap, and then 50 years later, we're where we're at. But then even you look at the drone industry, and from about 2012 to now, and where we've gone it's just mind-boggling, and it's exciting to be a part of it all.
It really is, right? We are on that curve of technology, and it's something I always state to those getting into this industry, looking for more information. You have to constantly be always learning, always seeking more, always trying to absorb, because things are changing on the week right now. Sometimes daily, who knows? But and not just technology, but regulations and the way that we're operating and what this new procedure and like all this stuff. It's fascinating. It's a fun industry to be a part of. Now, Wayne, could you walk us through a particular case where drones played a crucial role during an emergency operation, whether it's fire, whether it's search and rescue, or any other type of incident?
There's so many examples out there. I will pull one, and not to brag, but just this is where people should be thinking about utilizing a drone, because I almost didn't use my drone on this incident. I just on a whim went ahead and put the drone up, and it's very fortunate that I did. I had a wildland fire that wasn't even my area, my district. We were responding what's called mutual aid into it, and I arrived and they handed me incident command, and I'm like, okay. I went from honestly kind of being a sightseer, a third responder, to that's what you get to be as a chief, as a third responder. And I show up, and they handed me command, and now I fell into a command trap immediately of I was concerned about the fire I could see, and that's all I was really thinking about at the time was getting control of the fire I could see. And so when I did put my drone up, it was a very unique thing that from the point of origin, the fire had U-shaped around an area we were at. And I had a whole opposite head running parallel to the original one that I didn't know about until I put the drone up. And I had 3 houses at that point that were threatened by that fire. And had I not put the drone up, I luckily also still had units incoming that I could direct over to that area, and we would have lost 3 houses, possibly even a life. And thank goodness I had one available and put one up. And that's where, another proof of not the question used to be, why do we need a drone? The question now
like proof
is
of concept, right? And now it's
why don't you have a drone is my question now.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of DroneCast, rethinking public safety one drone at a time. I hope you found today's conversation insightful and thought-provoking. As always, we want to hear from you. What do you think of today's topics? Do you have any questions or suggestions for future episodes? Don't forget, you can reach out to us on LinkedIn at DroneCast, rethinking public safety one drone at a time, or head over to DroneSense.com/DroneCast to share your thoughts and get more content from the show. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, rating, and sharing it with others who are passionate about the future of drones and public safety. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.